4 types of rice I used to underestimate until I realized how they affect the kidneys. Do you notice there are people around us who are extremely strict with themselves? They eat a very healthy diet, choosing all kinds of expensive foods and imported products. But strangely enough, their bodies are always in a state of fatigue. Their faces are slightly puffy, and every morning they wake up without feeling the refreshment of a good night's sleep. Meanwhile, there are others who seem very relaxed. They only changed one extremely simple thing, a tiny thing that has appeared in every Vietnamese meal for thousands of years. Yet, their bodies feel much lighter and their minds much clearer. And that thing is the grain of rice. Actually, I used to be just like the vast majority of people out there. I used to think simply, isn't all rice the same? Flurry, as long as it is white, clean, fragrant, and fills the stomach to give enough energy for work, that is fine. But my friends, that as long as I'm full mindset is sometimes an invisible trap. It wasn't until I took the time to deeply research the health of the kidneys, the body's most precious blood filtration plant, that I suddenly woke up and realized there are types of rice that carry healing energy, helping our bodies breathe much easier. On the contrary, there are also wrong ways of eating rice that accidentally turn daily meals into a burden, forcing the kidneys to overwork, tirelessly carrying the weight of toxins without us even knowing. Do you know the kidneys are a very sensitive machine? They aren't just afraid of salt or sugar, they are also afraid of the excessive metabolic pressure from highly refined starches. That is why today I want to sit down here with you to share 3 types of rice that I personally, after much research and observation, evaluate as the most wonderful companions for those who find lightness for their digestion, reduce pressure on their kidneys, and support the body in naturally flushing out toxins. I must emphasize one thing. These types of rice are not miracle drugs. They cannot heal every ailment instantly overnight. Their power lies in consistency. If you eat them correctly and listen to your body every day, you will see your body begin to respond very differently, feeling lighter, more resilient, and full of vitality. Let's explore with me right now which type of rice will be the savior for your health. 1. White rice. In the past, whenever I heard the words white rice, familiar prejudices would immediately pop into my mind. That this type of rice was nutritionally poor or that eating too much of it would only harm my health without any benefit. I used to view it as a type of empty starch that should be avoided. However, later on, when I delved deeper into specialized nutrition for those who need to protect their kidneys, I was truly surprised to discover a completely opposite truth. White rice is actually frequently recommended by experts to protect the body's filtration system. The reason actually lies in a technical detail that few people notice. When rice is thoroughly milled into white rice, the outer bran layer is removed. It might sound like an S losing nutrients, but that very bran layer is where a high concentration of potassium and phosphorus is found. For a young and healthy person, these minerals are essential, but for a pair of kidneys that are starting to show signs of fatigue, processing a large amount of excess minerals is like forcing someone who is already exhausted to carry heavy weights. That is why a bowl of pure white rice becomes much lighter and more comfortable for our bodies. However, I want to emphasize that the white rice grain itself is not to blame. The real problem lies in how we eat it. Many of us are still unknowingly torturing our kidneys with the wrong kind of meals. A bowl filled to the brim with white rice, but accompanied by overly salty dishes, thick concentrated sauces, or processed foods full of chemicals and far too few green vegetables. It is precisely that abusive way of eating that makes us feel heavy and bloated after every meal. Instead, try changing your approach. If you take the time to rinse the rice a bit more thoroughly to remove impurities, cook it slightly softer for easier digestion, and then eat it with plates of light steamed vegetables, adding a bit of garlic, onions, or herbs to stimulate the palate, and combining it with a sufficient amount of lean protein. Then a bowl of white rice becomes an extremely effective recovery medicine. I still remember periods when my dinner was simply a small bowl of white rice, a plate of vibrant boiled vegetables, and an elegant piece of steamed fish. Yet, strangely enough, when I woke up the next morning, I felt my body was light, no longer feeling sluggish, thirsty, or tired as before. It turns out that sophistication in health sometimes does not lie in complex things, but in the very way we understand and respect the most basic values in our daily meals. Thus, you can see that white rice is a safe choice helping your 2 kidneys reduce the burden of minerals. However, If you want to take another step forward on your journey to health recovery, meaning you want both a lighter load for your kidneys and to protect your vascular system from blood sugars, then I have an even better suggestion. Many people often ask me, is there a type of rice that has the low phosphorus advantage of white rice while also having the ability to keep the body alert without causing fat accumulation or fatigue after eating? The reality is it is a type of rice dubbed the king of rices in many countries around the world. It not only meets the clean criteria for the kidneys, but also possesses an extremely impressive biological index that helps our bodies stay in the lightest state. That is the second food I want to share. Basmati rice. 2 basmati rice. If I had to choose a type of rice that truly makes me feel what it's like to have a completely light body after eating, the first name that comes to mind is basmati. I still remember the first time I tasted this rice. The feeling was truly very strange. Long, slender grains that when cooked become fluffy and loose, not sticky at all, and give off a very characteristic light fragrance. But to be honest, what made me fall in love with basmati wasn't the flavor, but the way my body felt after the meal. No more sudden bouts of sleepiness. No more heavy or sluggish stomach. Instead, there was an unusual alertness and comfort. Later, when I researched deeper, I realized that basmati possesses a glycemic index ghee much lower than ordinary white rice. This is far more important than we think because every time blood sugar spikes erratically, the tiny blood vessels in the body, especially the sensitive vessels in the kidneys, must endure heavy pressure. Eating basmati is the way we keep the flow within our body stable and peaceful. What I appreciate most about basmati rice is that it makes you eat less, yet still feel satisfied. It might sound a bit strange, but it says the truth. The fluffy texture of the rice grains and the elegant aroma help us enjoy the meal more slowly. With just a moderate amount, combined with some steamed vegetables, a few drops of extra virgin olive oil, and a little clean protein like fish or chicken breast, you will see your body respond in an extremely different way. The feeling of bloating disappears, and the worry about energy crashes after eating is also gone. However, there is an important thing I want you to remember. Basmati is good, but that doesn't mean we can eat as much of it as we want. The biggest mistake many people make is that as soon as they hear something is good, they start eating it immoderately. In reality, the secret to healthy kidneys and a healthy body does not lie in stuffing ourselves with a large amount of any superfood. It lies in a portion just sufficient for the body to fully metabolize. A regular eating schedule, neither skipping meals nor eating too full. And most importantly, simplicity in the way of preparation. Ultimately, sustainable health does not come from things that are too lofty, but from knowing how to choose the right fuel and using it in the most intelligent and moderate way. If basmati rice is the smart choice for blood vessels, thanks to its low glycemic index, then sometimes in life, our bodies need something more familiar and gentle. On tiring days when both the stomach and the palate become picky, we do not need a loose separate grain, but rather a softness and warmth to soothe the body. That is exactly when we should return to a popular type of white rice that possesses its own very distinct characteristics. Jasmine rice. 3. Jasmine rice. I see many people nowadays having the habit of grouping all types of white rice into the same category and hastily concluding that eating any kind is the same. They are all just starch. But in reality, jasmine rice has very unique points that if you are observant, you will see are extremely valuable for health. Compared to other types of rice, jasmine rice is softer, more fragrant, and provides a very easy-to-eat feeling. For those who often experience fatigue, bloating, or are in a period of poor appetite due to impaired kidney function, this softness is exactly the key. The beauty of jasmine rice does not lie in a massive nutritional profile, but in its comfort. There are days when the body is truly exhausted, and I realize I don't need a meal calculated perfectly down to every milligram of nutrients. I just need a meal that doesn't make my digestive system struggle. A bowl of soft, hot jasmine rice eaten with a plate of vibrant green vegetables and some simple protein sometimes brings a much more miraculous recovery than elaborate, hard-to-digest dishes. When the stomach works gently, the gut-kidney axis also relaxes, reducing the burden of toxins arising from undigested food. However, there is one point you need to pay special attention to regarding jasmine rice. Because of its soft and sticky characteristics, this type of rice can cause blood sugar to rise quite quickly if we eat too much or eat too fast. To turn jasmine into a true friend of the kidneys, the way you eat is the deciding factor. I personally always apply the following golden rules to keep the body stable. Portion control. I usually reduce the amount of rice compared to normal, focusing on quality rather than quantity. Eat slowly. Chew thoroughly. This helps the saliva mix evenly, supporting starch digestion, starting right from the mouth. Eating order. Always eat green vegetables first to create a fiber barrier in the gut, then move on to rice and protein. Smart combination. Add a little healthy fat such as avocado oil, olive oil, or lean protein to slow down the absorption of sugar. This balance will help you fully enjoy the delicious flavor of jasmine rice while still keeping your kidneys and blood vessels in the safest state. After exploring the safety of white rice or the intelligence of basmati rice, you might wonder, is there a type of rice that gathers the abundant nutrition of brown rice but does not put pressure on the kidneys? The answer takes us to the land of the rising sun, Japan, where people are creating a health craze with a grain dubbed the rebirth gem. That is germinated rice for germinated rice. Germinated rice is essentially brown rice grains awakened to life by being soaked in warm water under a strictly controlled process until they just begin to sprout. This is not just a change in appearance, but a biochemical revolution within the rice grain, bringing invaluable benefits to the kidneys of those over the age of 60. Why is germinated rice the savior for blood pressure and glomeruli? First, the power of GABA. When the rice grain germinates, the content of GABA gamma aminobutyric acid increases many times over compared to regular rice. For the kidneys, GABA is a silent guardian. It helps the nervous system relax, reduces stress, and most importantly, supports naturally lowering blood pressure. You must remember that high blood pressure is the silent killer that destroys the glomeruli the fastest. When blood pressure is stable, the blood vessels in the kidneys are protected from hardening and damage. Second, breaking down indigestible mineral bonds. A major barrier that makes people with weak kidneys hesitant to eat brown rice is its high content of phosphorus and potassium in hard-to-absorb forms. However, the germination process performs a miracle. It produces natural enzymes to break down these complex phosphorus and potassium bonds. Thanks to this, the body can absorb nutrients smoothly, minimizing the accumulation of mineral waste that puts pressure on the kidney's filtration system. Third, soothing the digestive system. Many seniors over the age of 60 are often reluctant to eat brown rice because the grains are hard, difficult to chew, and cause bloating. Germinated rice is the answer to this problem. Thanks to the germination process, the grain structure becomes softer, stickier, and very easy to digest. A healthy digestive system helps the gut-kidney axis operate smoothly, preventing toxins from leaking back into the bloodstream. Advice for using germinated rice effectively. You can purchase pre-packaged germinated rice or make it yourself at home by soaking brown rice in warm water for approximately 24-48 hours until you see tiny sprouts emerging. Cooking method. Germinated rice cooks very quickly. It does not require the long soaking time of traditional brown rice. Combination. The bowl of fragrant and nutty germinated rice eaten with a bit of seaweed or lightly seasoned braised fish is not only a delicious meal, but also a natural therapy that helps your kidneys rejuvenate from within. Ladies and gentlemen, the journey we have just traveled from discovering the 6 golden foods for breakfast to choosing the 4 light burden types of rice for the kidneys all revolves around a simple philosophy. Eating is to nourish, not to punish the body. After the age of 60, our 2 kidneys no longer need lavish feasts, overly elaborate dishes, or those rich with chemical flavors. What they need is understanding the soft, fragrant grains of rice that stabilize blood sugar, the spoons of Greek yogurt that soothe the gut, or the clean egg whites that help restore every cell. However, and there is one important thing that I want you to pay special attention to. Each body is a unique entity, and everyone's health status involves different metrics. The content we shared today is based on general nutritional principles for support and prevention. For those of you who already have underlying kidney conditions, such as various stages of kidney failure, kidney stones, or are undergoing specialized treatment, always remember your nutritional regimen must be personalized. You absolutely should not arbitrarily change your entire menu without direct consultation from your treating physician or a nutrition expert. Please bring this knowledge to discuss with your doctor during your next visit to find a menu that best fits your specific blood and urine indexes. That is the smartest and safest way to protect your kidneys. Finally, do not forget that a pair of healthy kidneys comes not only from what we eat, but also from an optimistic spirit and perseverance in every small habit. I hope that these insights will serve as an inspiration for you to start loving yourself more, beginning with your very next meal. And if you find this video helpful, please press the subscribe button and share it with friends and loved ones of the same generation so that together we can build a community that lives healthfully and lives long. Thank you for spending your time following along. Goodbye and see you again in our next healthcare journeys.